A new survey this morning claims that 7 out of 10 women who are affected by the menopause say that it led to their divorce or certainly the problems in their relationship. Dr Amir is in Leeds for us. Well, this is a new way of looking at the impact, isn't it, of perimenopause, of the menopause, on real sort of your relationships, your social life. We know about, we talk about the body, but the impact is huge.
Morning, Ranveer. Yes, it is World Menopause Day, and I know we've talked a lot about the menopause on this show before, but you can't talk about it enough, particularly after years and years of not talking about it enough. And you're right, what this study shows is that the menopause and the changes that can happen within that time for people can affect their relationships. But the way it's framed, Ranveer, is slightly problematic for me. It suggests that the menopause and the lady going through the menopause is to blame for that relationship breakdown. We've got to be really honest. The menopause is something called a hormone deficiency syndrome. That's how I describe it to my patients who are going through it. Their estrogen levels are dropping through no fault of their own, and we've got to work hard to manage their symptoms. And for them to go home and say, oh, the menopause might have caused problem in my relationship. Actually, what we need is for more men to understand the symptoms of the menopause. So when women do come to them with symptoms, they go, okay, this is why this is happening. This is what I have to do as a man to adjust and be more understanding of what my partner is going through. One woman said to me, Ranveer, when I talked to her about HRT and we put her on a trial of it, she came back and she said, oh, my husband said he's found his wife again. I was like, no, love, you've always been there. He just didn't look hard enough. And so we've got to really be careful about how we phrase this.
Agreed. That
being said, we've got to educate young people on the menopause as well so they know what to expect. Because another study by the Harley Street Clinic has said 80% of girls and women didn't understand the symptoms of the menopause when it came to their turn to go through it. So what I would say, again, classes of boys and girls, whatever, we teach them at a young age about periods. When I was in school, when I was doing GCSE biology, we learned that estrogen levels go up in the first 2 weeks of a period cycle. The lining of the womb thickens up, and if you don't get pregnant, then you shed that lining and it comes out as a period. And then we learned about pregnancy and what happens in pregnancy. Beyond that, they didn't teach us about menopause. They didn't say, actually, after this age, this thing stops. It's almost like the usefulness of a woman stops, so you don't need to learn about it.
Well, it's not just GCSE, is it? It's even at medical school, years later, for someone who's interested in the topic. Well, let's break this down then, because the idea of not really knowing some of the symptoms is really because it comes on in a sort of gentler way. So you've got these mood swings, don't you, that women talk about. And it's sort of like a tunnel vision, sort of, for some people, a sort of 24 hours of just feeling enraged by everything, and then it all just disappears, and you feel completely like you were back in the room again. And you might just think, what on earth was that?
Yeah. So again, no fault of your own if you're going through it. This is because estrogen, which is depleted in the menopause and the perimenopausal phase, which is the time leading up to the menopause, starts to come down. And so estrogen, one of its most important jobs is to affect some of the brain chemicals or neurotransmitters in our brain, and particularly the ones that affect our mood, like serotonin and dopamine. So if your estrogen levels, particularly in the perimenopausal phase that lead up to the menopause, kind of wave up and down rather than just come down, your moods can go up and down with that estrogen kind of moving up and down as well. So that's a way to understand it. And one thing you can do is talk to your doctor about it. Tell them you think it's the perimenopause or the menopause, so they don't just stick you on antidepressants, and talk to them about HRT and whether that's safe for you to use. For the vast majority of women, it is really safe. There'll be a small number of people who can't have it for whatever reason, and their doctor will be able to talk them through what other things they...
What about sex lives? Because that is affected.
That is affected. Again, estrogen, one of its main jobs is keep the vulva, which is the outside part of the female genital system, nice and plump, soft and moist. So when sex does occur, it's comfortable and pleasurable for that lady. But when estrogen levels come down, the vulva ends up thin and dry. It's a condition called vaginal atrophy, and sex can be painful. Passing urine can be painful. It can get itchy, very sore as you scratch it. And a simple thing like estrogen cream, which you can get from your doctor, hopefully over the counter soon, able to help with that as well. And that is safe for the vast majority of women, even if you've been told you can't have other forms of HRT.
And can we cover another couple of symptoms, actually? First of all, loss of bladder control, and also about your hair can get thin.
Yes. So bladder control, you've got something in your pelvis called the pelvic floor muscle. It's like a hammock of muscles and tendons that keep your bladder up and keep everything in place. And estrogen plays a key part in keeping that strong. And as you move through the menopause, as estrogen levels drop, that muscle can weaken, or the group of muscles can weaken. And that can lead to urinary incontinence. It can also lead to prolapse, so the uterus or the bladder coming through the vagina because of the weakened walls there. So look online for some pelvic floor exercises. There's some evidence that estrogen creams help with that as well, but speak to your doctor if you're not sure. And also estrogen and hair loss, really important. Estrogen helps balance hormones and chemicals that strengthen hair and help hair to grow. And when estrogen levels drop again, your hair may grow slower, it may grow thinner. Again, HRT may be the thing for you. Speak to the doctor to find out whether it's the right treatment for you. It's not for everyone, HRT. It may not help everyone's symptoms, but it's always worth going to speak to a doctor and tell them you want to talk about HRT and your health.
And clearly, none of that is your fault. Don't take the blame. Just try and look into the actual medical reasons for it. So wonderful to hear you talk so clearly this morning